Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or hello if you're new. I just wanted to jump right into this video because this is definitely a very different video from what I upload. It is extremely heartbreaking and a lot more dark than what I typically post on my channel, but I really wanted to talk about Gabby Petito. It is currently an ongoing case and there is constant new updates coming out, and I'm sure when I post this video there's going to be more updates, so I will make sure to continue with this and make an updated video. But as of now, this was a case about a missing person, but unfortunately as of Sunday, September 19, 2021, it was announced that the FBI have found human remains that seem to fit the description of Gabby Petito. So I wanted to talk about how this all happened, how we got here, and what is currently going on.
Gabby Petito never goes outside.
Gabby Petito is a 22-year-old woman from Blue Point, New York. She is described as 5'5", 110 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes. She's described as a fun, loving, energetic, kind, sweet person, and she just seems like such a free spirit, adventurous, and just like she'd light up the room. Gabby Petito was engaged to Brian Laundrie, a 23-year-old who went to the same high school together, but it doesn't seem like they dated until after high school, as Gabby started to date Brian Laundrie in March of 2019 based on their Instagrams, and it seems like Brian proposed to Gabby in July of 2020, now making him her fiance. She did move to Northport, Florida in 2019 to move in with her then boyfriend Brian Laundrie and his family, so she was living with Brian and his family for well over a year. So on July 2nd, both Gabby and Brian embarked on a cross-country journey. They are no strangers to traveling together and going on these adventures. Gabby packed up her white Ford Transit van and headed west. So in her van, she got it all done up where they could go across the country and visit all the different national parks, and they could sleep in the van. She documented the van life journey of her and her fiance going across country on social media, including Instagram and even YouTube. So they actually started their journey, like I said, on July 2nd from New York. I believe they were both in New York at this time to visit Gabby's family, because I believe she attended a graduation party, and from then on they went on their trip across country. Gabby's mom had said that she was so excited to go on this trip. They were both really excited and thought nothing of it, and they took off to do this journey. Gabby was actually working at a organic juice bar previously, and she was a nutritionist. However, she ended up quitting her job so she could go on this long journey across country, and her dream was to become a travel blogger and just document the life going across country in her van with her fiance. So she was really working on that while traveling, and as you can see on her social media, her Instagram and her YouTube, she was documenting all these beautiful places she was going to and sharing her whole experience of going to all the different national parks and just being out in nature and kind of unplugging. Everything just seems so beautiful and perfect and loving. If you just look at their social media, they look like such a beautiful young couple that were so in love and so happy. The trip they planned was supposed to be from July all the way into October, where they would end up in Portland, Oregon. However, the trip ended abruptly when Brian Laundrie returned back to Northport, Florida at his family's home with Gabby's van, but no Gabby in sight. And at this point, Gabby's parents were really starting to worry, as they were no longer getting calls or receiving messages from Gabby, which was very unusual because the entire trip, Gabby was keeping her parents informed and would always call every couple days whenever she could get service to update her family on how she's doing, where they're going, and all of that. Gabby was very close with her family, so they really were keeping in contact with her the entire journey. If you follow on Gabby Petito's Instagram, she really documents her trip and everywhere her and Brian go and all the national parks she visits. The first photo that she posted documenting this journey was on July 4th when she was in Kansas. On July 8th, 10th, and 11th, Gabby posted photos from Colorado. She also posted on July 16th and 18th being in Utah. On the 21st of July, Gabby posted another photo of being in the Canyon National Park in Utah. And on July 26th, she posted the Mystic Hot Springs in Utah. She did post another photo on July 31st before she went on a 12-day absence from her Instagram. And where there starts to be some bumpiness in this trip is actually on August 12th of 2021, there was an incident between Brian and Gabby. There's actually full body cam footage out now on YouTube, which I'll link down below. It's over an hour long, and the police received a 911 call from someone who saw Gabby and Brian get into an altercation and argument. They were both visibly upset and arguing, and Gabby did slap and scratch Brian. Brian did shove Gabby, and the bystander saw them both get into the van, and that's when the bystander decided to call the police. The police went and found the van, and Brian was actually going over the speed limit and ran over the curb. They were pulled over by the police, and the police did a check on what was going on. Once the police pulled them over, you could tell that Gabby is visibly distressed. And looking now at the footage, the body cam footage that occurred on August 12th, it's very telling and very alarming now seeing that footage and knowing what ends up happening. Gabby is visibly upset. She's really distressed. She's crying. She's just very upset with what's going on. The police both pull aside Brian and Gabby to get both their sides of the story. And of course, there's always two sides to every story, and everyone has their own version. Gabby was saying that they were bickering a lot, and she was just really stressed and overwhelmed, and she struggles with OCD and anxiety, and they were kind of just bickering about little things, and it just kind of escalated. It did get physical, and Brian told his story. When Brian was talking to the police, he was a lot more composed. He was even at times kind of like giggling and had a smile on his face, while Gabby was still crying and kind of hyperventilating a little bit, and she just seemed completely distressed about the whole situation. The police decided to not charge it as a domestic violence account. They did say they both love each other and they're engaged, and they just had a small fight. So they decided to take this situation on as a mental health issue. The police ended up taking Brian to the hotel and separating the two just for the night, and Gabby got the keys to the van where she could stay there for the night so that they have time to kind of relax and cool down alone, and they can reunite the next day on August 13th. So that is what ended up happening. The police did drive Brian to a hotel, and he stayed there for that night. And after that, they continued on with their cross-country journey and went ahead on their next adventure and next place they wanted to visit. One thing that Gabby did say to the police that you could tell made her visibly upset is that she was telling the police that she just is starting to launch her website and her travel blog, and she was really excited about that, but her fiance thought that it's gonna go nowhere and there's no point of it. And you could tell that really upset her because she was really working hard, setting everything up, and he kind of just put her dream down. That's one thing she did state to the police. But after that whole night, they continued on with their journey, and Gabby actually launched the YouTube channel. I believe it's called Nomadic Static, and she posted her very first YouTube of their van life journey, and that was the very first and very last video on their channel. I did go ahead and watch the video of them. Watching it, it just looks so beautiful. It looks like they're so in love. It just looks like such a fun adventure, and it just was beautifully done. It's so heartbreaking to watch because we obviously know what ended up happening after that. As of August 21st, they were both staying in Salt Lake City, and her family still had contact with her. Actually, Gabby's dad ended up sending them food over there, ordering food for them because they had no service, so he was able to do that. So they still were in contact with Gabby at this point, and everything seemed fine. Gabby did FaceTime her mom on August 24th, and they had a conversation. Everything seemed fine. She was excited to leave, and everything was good. But that was the last contact, being on the phone with her mom. And she did post the next day on August 25th. She posted a series of photos which did show that they were leaving Salt Lake City, Utah at that point. But after August 25th, everything went silent. One thing I do have to mention is Gabby's mom did receive a text on August 30th. However, Gabby's mom's very wary about it. She does not believe that that was sent by Gabby. All it said is no service in Yosemite, and that is a national park in California. But like I said, Gabby's mom was very suspicious at that point. Looking back at the text, she just does not think that was sent by Gabby herself. So the really last contact that people heard from Gabby herself was on the 24th and 5th of August. What was really strange was 2 days later, after that text message was sent to Gabby's mom, Brian Laundrie showed back up at his family's home on September 1st. Brian did not contact anyone or report Gabby missing or update Gabby's family of where she is and that they're not on the trip anymore. What he did do was hire a lawyer. And it wasn't until September 11th, 10 days later, after Brian came back home, was when Gabby was reported as a missing person. However, she was not even reported 10 days later by Brian Laundrie. She was reported as a missing person by Gabby's family. Gabby's family were starting to get really concerned because they were no longer hearing from Gabby, and that was very unusual. They kept in contact every couple days. Whenever, like I said, whenever Gabby had a chance to get service, she would contact them. And at this point, they haven't heard from Gabby except for that little text on August 30th. And it was September 11th at this point. So Gabby's parents went ahead and contacted the police and report Gabby Petito as a missing person. So Gabby's parents were living in New York, so they did contact, I believe, the New York police, and then the police in Northport, Florida went over to Brian Laundrie's family home, and that's when they discovered the van from Gabby Petito. When the police have tried to speak with Brian Laundrie, he has refused to cooperate and speak to the police. At this point, they know that they were in Wyoming and she could be in the middle of the park with no service, no food, no transportation. So her family is understandably freaking out. Everyone's starting to, at this point now, search the park where she was last seen in Wyoming. Brian has just been completely silent. Brian's parents have also been silent, and everything, like I said, has been going through the lawyers. At this point, Gabby Petito's parents are going on the news and pleading for the Laundrie family to be open and tell them what's going on, but they have refused to tell them anything, and they have been pleading for anyone, if they have any information, to please bring it forward. The police did take the Ford white van to investigate and see if there's anything or any evidence that they can take from that. And as well as they did announce that Brian Laundrie was now a person of interest. So at this current point, they did not say he's a suspect, but they do say he's a person of interest. As of Tuesday, September 14th, Brian Laundrie took his car. I believe it was a Mustang. He had grabbed a backpack and said he was going hiking at a Florida wildlife reserve. However, he has not been seen since. The parents of Brian Laundrie went ahead and called the police and reported Brian now as a missing person a few days later. He left on the 14th, and I believe the parents reported it on the 17th, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but it was a few days later. The Mustang that Brian brought to the wildlife reserve, either the parents or someone went ahead and took the car back to the house, but no one has heard from Brian Laundrie since. No one knows where he is at this current moment. Just yesterday on September 19th, 2021, the police, they did announce that the FBI found human remains that seemed to describe and match Gabby Petito at the park in Wyoming. And they announced it on the news. Gabby's parents were made aware. They haven't 100% identified her, of course, until they do the autopsy. However, they are fairly positive that this is Gabby Petito. But the autopsy is being conducted on Tuesday, which is actually when I'm posting this video. So today, that will be conducted, and they can 100% positively identify if it's Gabby, and also the cause of death, which is going to obviously make this case go a lot further depending on what the cause of death is. So it's all up in the air now. It's so upsetting. We all as a public, I feel like, have so many of our own opinions on what we think happened, but of course we don't know exactly what has happened, but we all have speculations. Things seem very fishy and just very out of place. What I found really telling was Gabby Petito's best friend actually came forward and talked on the news, and she talked about seeing that body cam image and seeing her best friend visibly distraught. And she said that Brian Laundrie, although for the most part he was a very nice and composed person, he did have a very jealous side and controlling side as well. She did go ahead and state that if he didn't want Gabby to do something, he would find a way so that she couldn't do it. She did say that there were times that they would argue and Gabby would stay over with her best friend. She thought it was kind of normal for a couple, you know, to have arguments, but she did say that looking now at the body cam footage that the police released on August 12th of the couple, she said it's very telling and very alarming, and she really believes that in that footage, she believes her best friend is holding back information. She says that she can just tell that her best friend isn't telling the police everything, and she's kind of holding things and hiding things. The police body cam footage definitely did show a rocky side to their relationship, and that it wasn't all perfect, and there could have been cracks in this relationship. And it's just so upsetting and heartbreaking, and I can't even imagine how Gabby Petito's family is feeling. I feel so heartbroken for them, and my thoughts and prayers are with them. I just really hope that this case can get solved and they can bring justice and the family can just know what exactly happened. I can't even imagine them having to deal with this news, not knowing what's happening, and also having the Laundrie family be so tight-lipped and not even help them out through this whole process. I can't even imagine that feeling. They even went on camera begging for them to open up and help them and tell them. They said that, you know, Brian Laundrie's family loved Gabby and were excited that she was becoming a fiance, and Gabby was going to be their daughter-in-law, but they have not been cooperative in helping the parents at all during this whole process, and they have been very tight-lipped, just like Brian has been, because Brian has just not been helping at all and using his right to remain silent. I will continue this and definitely do an update. I know that things are gonna be constantly coming out, and I'm keeping my eye on that and keeping up with this case. I feel like everyone knows a Gabby Petito. She seems like such a sweet, loving, fun, kind girl that we all know. So it's so heartbreaking. You just don't ever think these things would ever happen. I will link some things down below in the description box, as well as maybe some information. I know there's a GoFundMe and just any information that would be useful. Catch you guys in my next video. Bye.